The date is December 9. This is the Wednesday edition of the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. A COVID-19 vaccine could be distributed locally by April 2021. On Tuesday, Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton updated the nation via the House of Representatives.
Madam Speaker, the expectation is that in the first instance, Jamaica will vaccinate 16% of our population, with the goal to protect public health and minimize societal and economic impact by reducing COVID-19 mortality. The intention is to prioritize the vaccination of our health workers who are at the very high risk of acquiring and transmitting infection, and our older adults who we understand are among the most vulnerable to adverse outcomes and death associated with COVID-19 infection. And the data bears that out, Madam Speaker, in that the highest numbers of deaths to date, of the 265 fatalities, are persons over a particular age and who have comorbidities.
Dr. Tufton gave a breakdown of the projections.
Madam Speaker, the projected schedule, as we have it at this time, and I say it's projected because it can change, is to have a vaccine ready for administration to some 1% of the initial 16% of the population by April 2021. 1%, that is, of the overall 16% that would get initially, another 3% by mid-2021, and the remaining percentage by the end of 2021.
Jamaica has bought into the World Health Organization's COVID-19 Vaccine Global Access, or COVAX, facility. The COVAX facility is designed to accelerate equitable access by countries globally to appropriate safe vaccines. Additionally, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, has been actively involved in negotiations to secure the best arrangements for regional member countries to access vaccine supplies when one is developed. A virtual post-cabinet press briefing was held on Wednesday at Jamaica House. Here are some highlights.
Cabinet has approved the National Program for the Environmentally Sound Management of end-of-life pneumatic tires that we use in our cars, buses, and trucks. End-of-life tires are those that could not or were not reused for their originally intended purpose and were not retreaded. As you may be aware, tires can be used as raw materials for co-processing in cement kilns, in asphalt mix for road construction, as well as the construction of sports grounds, playgrounds, surfaces, and artificial reefs. At present, there is no national program to address the management of the 2 million end-of-life or used tires that are generated in Jamaica annually.
We will be advancing a comprehensive public education and awareness campaign as a component of each phase of the national program. And consideration will be given to the promulgation of regulations under the National Solid Waste Management Authority Act 2001 to govern the management of the end-of-life tires across the island.
Since the new school term began on October 5, the government has embarked on a phased physical reopening of schools to offset the heavy reliance on virtual learning. The pilot was done in 17 schools, spread out over 9 parishes, from November 10 to November 20. Education Minister Favour Williams updated the House of Representatives on Tuesday. Marlon Samuels was in Parliament and he filed this report.
Education Minister Favour Williams reported that 30% of students in those schools turned up for face-to-face learning.
Madam Speaker, let me say the highest number of reported attendance during the pilot was 1,757 students, or about 30% of the school's expected population. Nevertheless, the positive good practices were the pre-opening preparation and the during reopening operation. And there are many good practices that are detailed in the statement.
The island's internet access is hovering under 50%. This has negatively impacted online and remote learning for our students. However, Minister Williams said 98 schools have now been given internet connectivity.
as of last Tuesday, December 1st, 98 of our schools that never had internet connectivity now have connectivity using the satellite technology. And there are 2 more schools to complete their installation at the end of today, making it 100 schools that never had internet connectivity now have. Teachers who have been having problems connecting from their homes have been coming to schools to utilize the connectivity to reach our students.
In the meantime, 2 additional schools have been selected for face-to-face learning. By that same token, the minister reported that some schools have reported successful online learning and may opt to continue online for the new school term in January 2021.
There are some schools that are having successful online engagement with students and teachers. Arden High School, Campion College, Mona High School, Papine High, Calabar High are examples. Some of the schools with successful online engagement, meaning a very high percentage, 80 to 90% of their students are online, have asked to continue this modality even if they're selected for face-to-face. We fully support that, Madam Speaker.
As to the way forward, Minister Williams reported that based on the state of readiness and COVID-19 compliance assessments, 66 high schools and 59 primary schools have been approved compliant for physical reopening. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
Several school principals across the island are being trained to improve their management skills under the Inclusive School Leadership Training Program. The Education Ministry's Special Education Unit is spearheading the program, along with the National College for Education Leadership and the Jamaica Social Investment Fund. Representatives from the Special Education Unit shared how participants will benefit at recent JIS think tank.
They will be equipped to mainstream students, include students with disabilities in the general education program, ensuring that they receive all the support that is necessary to facilitate their optimal performance.
We know that special education, inclusive leadership is not necessarily something that a principal would learn in school. And so we recognize that we needed to design, develop, and implement a training program that would allow our principals to have the requisite skills and competencies needed to build inclusive schools.
The pilot phase of the program is currently being implemented and is set to end on December 31. No permits have been given for parties for the Christmas season. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie says the authorities will be targeting these illegal events. He gave the warning while speaking in Parliament on Tuesday.
Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie says he is aware that more than 300 events are being held each month and they are in violation of the health and safety protocols set out by the Health Ministry to decrease the spread of COVID-19.
We are aware of nightclubs, especially in the corporate area, Otrios, Montego Bay, Negril, and other major centers are operating in defiance of the protocols. These venues, registered as restaurants, they are now in fact operating as nightclubs. And in addition, nightclubs being run under the disguise of restaurants. Just last weekend, Madam Speaker and member of this Honorable House, a major event was held on Dunrobin Avenue when the video was sent and the count of motor vehicles was done. Nearly 150 motor vehicles, motorbikes, lining both sides of the road. And information that we have garnered that the activity was closely monitored. The police have been provided with the relevant information and video footage, and I can say to this Honorable House that the investigation is actively taking place and the necessary charges will be laid once those investigations have been concluded.
He pointed to upcoming events which he said will be stopped.
It says, give away every hour from the bikini girls. So this is one of the flyers, Madam Speaker. With total disregard for the protocols that is set out by the government. And this information have been passed on to the police for the necessary steps to be taken to prevent these illegal activities from going on.
Minister Mackenzie says there are concerns about this pattern of behavior which has serious implications for the country, especially during the Yuletide season. He also notes critiques about the government's support for the entertainment sector.
The government has no intention in stifling the entertainment sector, but we are guided by the advice of the health sector, and we are saying at this time, no permits for any events, no parties, no bike shows, neither round robin, neither open or shut your mouth. There is no such permit, Madam Speaker, that has been granted.
The Disaster Risk Management Order number 16, now in effect, which bans nightclubs and parties, will remain in effect until January 15, 2021. Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
Policy and Advocacy Officer for Jamaica Aid Support for Life, Patrick Layla, says the sexual harassment bill now before the Parliament is limited because it's geared towards incidents that occur in institutions and not in the public domain. Mr. Layla made the point in a recent interview with our news team.
What we know, one of the major things for us is street harassment, because the legislation in its current form is addressing harassment in institutions, workplaces, schools, places for the elderly, and correctional institutions. It's not going out in the street. And the reality is over 85% harassment happens in the street.
The JASL is one of a number of organizations that have appeared before the Joint Select Committee reviewing the draft sexual harassment bill. The proposed legislation speaks to sexual harassment incidents which are employment-related, occurring in institutions or arising in landlord and tenant relationships. Mr. Layla says he awaits the report from the committee. The Southeast Regional Health Authority, SERHA, is asking Mr. Matthew Myrie and Ms. Renee Authors to make urgent contact with the Bustamante Hospital for Children via telephone numbers 876-926-57215 or 876-968-0300 or 876-816-8058. The Jamaica Stock Exchange's combined index advanced on Tuesday. Here are those and other market data on this episode of the Business Report with Gabriel Thompson.
In Tuesday's trading session, the JSE combined index advanced by 1,883 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 89 stocks, of which 34 advanced, 41 declined, and 14 traded firm. The junior market index declined by 20 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services, Berger Pence Jamaica, and Blue Par Group Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica, 1834 Investments Limited, and AMG Packaging and Paper Company. Trading firm were Caribbean Producers Jamaica, Dermont Trading Company Preference Shares, and First Rock Capital Holdings Limited. Mailpack Group Limited was the volume leader with 44.2 million units, followed by QWI Investments Limited with 20.3 million units, and Caribbean Producers Jamaica Limited with just over 3.1 million units. It's now time for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Tuesday, December 8, ended trading at $144.81. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $111.83. The pound sterling traded for $192.04, and the euro ended trading at $175.97. Oil prices were little changed on Tuesday as the most populous U.S. state tightened its pandemic lockdown through Christmas, and COVID-19 cases surged in the United States and Europe, counteracting optimism that arose over vaccine advancements. Oil prices were buoyed after the world's first fully tested COVID-19 shot was administered to a grandmother in Britain, but investors quickly returned their focus to ebbing fuel demand caused by the pandemic. Brent crude futures gained 5 cents, settling at $48.84 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 16 cents to settle at $45.60 a barrel. And that does it for this edition of the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Sleep apnea is a potentially serious disorder in which breathing repeatedly stops and starts. If you snore loudly and feel fatigued even after a full night's sleep, you might have sleep apnea. On this week's Living Healthy Report, HD's Jazz explores this common affliction.
So you've been diagnosed with sleep apnea. What do? More than likely, they're going to recommend a continuous positive airway pressure machine. And that CPAP machine is a gold star. It keeps your airway open, but not everybody can tolerate it. So what do? Today, we're going to talk with someone who went on a different journey and got very good results. I'm going to introduce to you our very special guest. He's a photographer, but he's also one of the Ligony Family Dental family members, Mr. Ulrich Lawrence. Ulrich, how are you doing? We're going to ask you to share a little bit about your journey. I know that you have artwork, so I know that you can find a way to just tell a story using your artwork, and then we'll talk a little bit at the end.
Sure, no problem, Doc. My journey with the diagnosis of sleep apnea, it requires a sleep study to be done to be correctly diagnosed. I was diagnosed with severe sleep apnea. What it felt like was this boat. You're getting bad news that, your life is at risk. I ended up feeling very tormented and thought I didn't have a solution. And it took me a while, like this image, floundering around just there, trying to come to terms with it. Mm-hmm. You advised me that there were other options, like this image of someone going home. It's a solution that I need to make a decision about either the CPAP, the constant pressure airway machine, which I thought was not the correct solution for me because of all that would be required for it to be done for the machine. At that point, I had a choice to make either between getting a CPAP machine or a mandible advancement device. Mad. So at that point, I chose to go with a mandible advancement, and now I am as serene as the sunset.
Well done. You've taken us on a journey that many people have to go on, and you've used pictures. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Okay.
So as you can see, this particular mandibular advancement device is all plastic with the use of straps. There are other designs that incorporate plastic and metal, but This one works well for most people, especially if they are tending to grind or clench at night. It gives a little more space. He's put it in his mouth and there's not really anything protruding or making him feel that it's anything more invasive than wearing an appliance for orthodontics. So we've been on this wonderful artistic journey with Ulrich Lawrence, talking about an alternative to the continuous positive airway pressure machine, the CPAP. The mandibular advancement device works quite well. So if you have sleep apnea, here's an option, the MAD option. Listen, see you next time. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and our LFD website. I'll see you next time on HD's Jazz.
In regional news, Attorney General of the Bahamas, Carl Bethel, has revealed that he's preparing to put forward the best case for the Bahamas' removal of the European Union's blacklist. The AG says he and members of his technical team have a series of telephone meetings with European unions and financial officials over the next few days. Jasmine Brown reports.
The Attorney General confirmed on Thursday morning that the first of several telephone meetings with the European Union representatives is set for Friday morning. Bethel asked for the Senate to meet an hour later than usual so that he could accommodate that meeting.
I have a series of phone calls with European ministers of finance and other persons involved in order to address with each individual minister, and starting tomorrow and continuing on next week.
The European Union officially added the Bahamas to its list of third countries categorized as having strategic deficiencies in its anti-money laundering, countering the financing of terrorism frameworks back in October. The AG says he and his team will use the meeting to make the Bahamas case to those European finance officials.
Address and put forward the best case for the Bahamas for our removal from the European Union's blacklist.
Bethel said the meeting will give the Bahamas a chance to develop bilateral contacts with major players across Europe who are less familiar with the country.
It's an opportunity for us to begin to establish person-to-person contact at the ministerial level, but also technical officers contact at the technical officers levels with individual countries in Europe that we do not have that sort of close contact with at the present time.
In September, Bethel foreshadowed the blacklisting, noting that the matter was beyond all of our control, given that the COVID-19 pandemic and associated travel restrictions prevented an on-site country assessment by the FATF. However, he expressed hope that an assessment would be held in sufficient time for the Bahamas to get off the FATF blacklist at the earliest in February 2021. Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
One hotelier is saying the Barbados Employment and Sustainable Transformation Program is not a suitable option for those in his line of work, saying it might drive them out of business. We have the details in this report.
Government's Barbados Employment and Sustainable Transformation, or BEST program, is not ideal for some hoteliers. That's the contention of hotelier Gordon Seal, who argued that the program is funding losses and could possibly drive hoteliers out of business. Speaking at the Barbados Yacht Club's luncheon yesterday, Seal revealed that his two hotels, Bougainvillea Resort and Sugar Bay Barbados, which employ 480 people, were bleeding astronomically and up to November had recorded a combined net loss of $450,000 each month. And he said that did not factor in loss of business.
Basically, in other words, the scheme is funding losses and will dilute ownership of the hotels. How can anyone who understands the program claim that government is looking after businesses at the expense of labor? It's just a mystery, and this is what's been put out there in the public all the time, and has fed this business about how, people being unreasonable and unfair to staff and everything else. The best program, the best plan, looks after labor while the hotels run at debt. Furthermore, how they run of the debt, the hotel still has a severance liability hanging around its neck. So in other words, those people go into the best program, but they continue with their full severance. And it's a cost that we've seen has come up now and could come up again. The conversion of preference shares into common shares after the dilution of ownership, especially for the financially weak local hotels, could result in a change of ownership of the hotels, possibly to government.
Sills said instead of the best plan, he would have preferred for the unemployment insurance to be extended until the arrival numbers reached a predetermined point.
In sports, some positive news for the Caribbean Premier League CPL. The organization has been awarded Best Use of Social Media from the prestigious International Sports Convention. The CPL implemented creative strategies for its audience in keeping with the new norms for sporting events due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The CPL team worked with content creators to edutain fans and get them involved with the event. The move saw the tournament, which was played behind closed doors, adding more than 1 million new followers and over 300 million video views via social media. The tournament took place between August 18 and September 10. In the weather report, a cold front is entering the northwestern Caribbean and it's expected to move across Jamaica on Tuesday night through to early Wednesday. This system is expected to stall and linger just east of the island Wednesday afternoon through to Thursday. Current projections are for periods of showers, which could be heavy at times, to affect sections of mainly northern and southeastern parishes through to Friday. Additionally, gusty winds and cooler than normal temperatures are expected across Jamaica on Wednesday and Thursday. Fishers and other marine interests should exercise caution as sea conditions will deteriorate in the vicinity of showers and strong gusty winds. The Meteorological Service will continue to monitor this system. And that's our package. On behalf of our entire production team, pleasant viewing.